Look at her.
Now let's do it.
Drenda's giving away a dozen free trips to the first 12 callers.
Welcome to the Mach 1 Market Moment, where we provide financial information on topics such as investing, insurance, financial planning, and everything related to your money. A quick reminder that the hosts of the show are employees of Mach 1 Financial Group. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and nothing said in the show should be taken as investment advice. Employees and clients of Mach 1 Financial Group may maintain positions in the securities or strategies discussed. We upload a brand new podcast every Thursday, so be sure to subscribe to our show so you never miss an episode. Also, follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are Mach 1 Financial Group on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
If you have a question you want us to answer here on the podcast, just send an email to podcast@mach1fg.com. If you want to learn more about your financial future, you can schedule a free consultation with any of our advisors here at Mach 1 with absolutely no obligation. Just head to mach1fg.com for more information.
All right, welcome to the Mach 1 Market Moment. We're happy to have a special guest with us today, actually a relative of mine, my sister-in-law, my favorite sister-in-law.
Thanks, David.
Drenda Roberts. Drenda is the owner of Bentley Travel Design. Her website is bentleytraveldesign.com, and I can personally vouch for her. She's done several trips for myself and our family, and they're always outstanding. So welcome to the podcast today, Drenda. We're happy to have you here.
Thanks, David. First, let me say just thank you for the opportunity to visit with you and your clients today about travel, which is an industry that I love and have enjoyed serving my clients over the past 10 years. And travel is really something that unites us all. And it's so important to us personally on so many different levels. And it's also important to our national and global economy.
Yeah. And it's an issue that's near and dear to the hearts of a lot of our clients. We deal here at Mach 1, we deal mostly with seniors and retirees. And one of the favorite activities for retirees is traveling. It's typically an important part of retirement plans that we put together for our clientele. So that's part of why we're talking about travel today and having Drenda on the podcast. So on that note, Drenda, talk to us a little bit about, just generally, what's the current state of the travel industry?
Well, I'll start on a local level with my clients. My clients are traveling. I think everyone has their own comfort level, but there's something for everyone if you want to travel. It's certainly more challenging and the entry requirements change daily, but we're continually monitoring that for our clients and advocate for them and help navigate them through that. So it can be an amazing time to travel to some of these bucket list places, say Venice or Machu Picchu, where you don't have the crowds right now, if you feel adventurous to do that. But we're seeing people that are comfortable traveling, making their plans. And then we're also seeing trends of people staying longer once they start to travel, especially internationally. But things are fluid, things change, entry requirements change, and that's just the way it is right now. If you want to travel, you just navigate through those.
So speaking of that, what are some of the challenges you're seeing logistically relative to entry requirements and things like that? Can you speak to that for a minute?
Sure. We could talk all day about that. There are certainly places that are easier to enter than others. Mexico doesn't require any testing to enter, but just to return to the US. So we feel that's a pretty safe destination that probably in the long term will not require vaccinations to enter. Of course, everything can change on a dime, but we feel pretty, decently confident about that. But depending on where you want to go, there may be testing, the RT-PCR testing required to enter a certain, 48, 72 hours, maybe 5 days prior to arrival, just depends on the country. They each have their own requirements. Europe, we're seeing more and more vaccination requirements to enter countries, or COVID test 48 hours to enter restaurants, museums, community spaces like that. There are a few islands in the Caribbean that also have decided to require vaccinations. as well. So it's fluid, but again, there are places that if you just want to test, do a negative PCR test, we do have places that we can do that. But those are the hurdles that we, have to navigate right now.
So on that note, Drenda, it sounds like obviously domestic travel is quite a bit less complicated right now because you don't have to worry about mandatory vaccines and things like that. So for people who are maybe hesitant about getting the vaccine, is that what you're recommending to them? Just staying domestic, or what recommendations do you have to people who are maybe, for whatever reason, are hesitant about the vaccine or can't take the vaccine? What should they do about travel?
Definitely, I think domestic is a great option, and I mentioned Mexico as well. But the domestic market has really been taxed, I would say, because of the supply and demand this year. The pricing reflects that as well. When you are limited, or maybe you don't want to go out of the country, you don't feel that comfortable. We've just seen a surge in the demand for the U.S. market, which has been nice for our, partners here in the travel industry in the States. But yet, as any industry, it's always, it's put everyone's needing workers and things. So it has put a little stress on them. But the market does show through the pricing, the supply and demand, that the U.S. market's been really hot this year.
What about pricing on airfare? I know it went crazy there and got really expensive to fly. Is it still that way, or has that come back down? Or
They just do what they want to do.
Yeah.
One day it might be high, and then I was pricing something the other day. It was like I think an $800 ticket, and then it had gone down to $200. It gone down $200 to $600. So, and then had gone back up the next day. So It's really kind of all over the place. Air's crazy.
Yeah.
It's volatile.
Are there any tips or tricks that you can share with people relative to that?
I mean, typically, in previous times, Tuesdays and Wednesdays are good times to travel as far as flights departing, but it really just depends on your dates and if it's a holiday and a lot of factors. So,
And what about destinations? I think you mentioned something about Machu Picchu and something else earlier about places that are relatively less busy right now than others. Do you have any recommended destinations, or is every place just crazy busy right now?
well, definitely the U.S. market is very busy, along with Mexico, Caribbean. If you try to find dates over festive, which is Christmas and New Year's, they'll be very limited. But, I think as far as crowds in the domestic market, since the kids are going to go back to school, that will alleviate some of that. We had the big summer rush, and I think people were so just looking forward to get back into normal and travel. It was a really heavy travel season up through the end of July, 1st of August. And so I think once kids start going back to school, we'll have some availability in some other markets. Hawaii is always popular. It's always hot. But even now, with the restrictions on the capacity in which they open up and dining, that's always, I feel like, with COVID, going to be an issue there in Hawaii. But I think the other domestic U.S. markets and states are opening up this fall more, if you stay away from holidays. I would say virtuoso.com is a great resource for, it's the largest luxury consortia in the world. And so many suppliers are involved with that, travel agencies. I myself am as well. But they also have a lot of great articles. They have all kinds of fun, great travel ideas on there. And they keep up with the state of the industry. And I think that's a great little spot to start if people are looking for some knowledge and some ideas, some fun dreaming ideas on.
Yeah, I love the idea of dreaming. If you can, it's hard for someone to do something until they can picture it. You've probably heard the saying before: whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Well, unless you've actually been on some of these travel sites, you don't even know what's out there in the world that you haven't even experienced. You don't know what you don't know. So, yeah, virtuoso.com.
Virtuoso.com, yes, a great resource. But you're right. And I think that that is a great way. I know my job is to open up the world to clients, maybe special experiences, or just maybe they have a special interest, like they are architecture lovers or they're, Caesar history lovers or whatever. And that's my job to open those experiences up to them. But you can kind of get a glimpse of maybe some things there on virtuoso.com. But I think that we've all realized that the only time we have is now through
Yeah.
COVID, and people that have bucket lists for travel they're making those plans. They've decided now is the time. So we are seeing people book into 2023 even. So if you want to travel, make those reservations and those plans, because people have been shifting from, 2020 now to 22 and further out. So
What are y'all anticipating as far as how long this, let's call it the pent up demand from COVID, as we were all kind of shut down for a year there, which obviously killed the entire travel industry, but now you've got all that pent up demand that's causing all these supply and demand problems. How long are you all anticipating that to last? You mentioned that the school year starting is maybe going to bring that down somewhat, but do you have a projection for when things might get back to quote unquote normal in the travel industry?
Well, I think that if I can just back up a little, 2019 was really kind of a golden era year for travel, and 2020 was expected to be even bigger than that. So 2019 was stellar. Travel spending in 2020 was just a mere $679 billion. It was a 42% decline from 2019, which equaled about $500 billion for US spending. So, that was a $64 billion loss in federal, state, and local tax revenue from March to the end of 2020. So it's about a $500 billion loss in travel, which is a 1.3 trillion economic output effect for us. So we feel, and many industry sectors, economy sectors feel that the U.S. economy will not be able to fully rebuild without the recovery of the travel industry. So in 2020, they lost 62 million jobs worldwide, just leaving 272 million employed across the globe, compared to 334 million in 2019. So such a trickle down effect with everything and all the little sectors and industries that it affects. So I think it'll take us a while to build back, but everyone loves to travel. And so we're going to do our best to get there, but it is, I think, a long rebuilding process for us.
That should bode well economically for the country, right? If as that demand takes a while to get back through the system, that creates lots of consumer spending. And one of the things we talk to our clients a lot of times is how, the U.S. economy, 70% of U.S. GDP, I think it's 70%, is comes from consumer spending. So the more people are spending, the more stocks go up. So specifically, like travel related stocks like Disney, and that's the one that comes to the top of my mind. That's the only one. All the airline stocks, obviously.
Right.
Any travel related stock is probably doing pretty well right now because of all this pent up demand. And if it stays that way, and it sounds like, Drenda, you're forecasting that you don't see any end in sight, is what I'm hearing from you essentially. And so that should be good for not only for the travel industry, but like you said, Drenda, that trickles throughout the entire United States economy. And so it's good for the market and good for investors who are investing in the market.
The tourism industry is, I think it's 10.4% of the global GDP. So it's vital to our national and global economy for that to get going.
Absolutely. While it's important to save and plan for retirement, which is a lot of what we do here at Mach 1 Financial, it's also important to live for today and enjoy every moment that God gives you. And traveling is a great way to do that. So if you're not already a client of Mach 1, you can come in here and we can help you dream a little bit and put together a plan for your retirement and all the places you think you might want to go and see and do and experience while you're still here. And great companies and like Drenda's company, Bentley Travel Design, BentleyTravelDesign.com. Drenda Roberts, she can help you as well as a travel agent to help put together some of those plans and accomplish some of those dreams. So we highly encourage you to do that. Having a good team, like a good financial advisor, along with a good vacation planner, can help you achieve all those goals. So thanks again, Drenda, for being with us today. Do you have any final thoughts to share with the audience?
Thanks so much, David. Again, it was such a privilege to be an honor to be here today with you. And I just, love travel. And I just encourage people, if you want to travel and that's your heart, and you do have a bucket list and you want to proceed with those, just step out, and I'd love to assist you, or you may have a local agent that can assist you, advisor that can assist you, but seize the moment that we have, whether it's domestic or internationally.
Amen. I agree with that. Okay. Thanks again, Drenda.
Thanks, David.
For those of you who are listening, if you don't already have a travel agent that you're working with, I highly recommend Drenda Roberts with Bentley Travel Design. That's at BentleyTravelDesign.com. Drenda, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, has done several trips for our family, and they've always been A+. So I highly recommend her, and we highly recommend that you make travel part of your retirement plan if that's one of your goals, because none of us are promised tomorrow. So it's important to have a balance of planning for retirement and planning for the future, but also enjoying life, enjoying every moment of life that you can while you have it. When we post this to our social media pages, we'll also be posting a link to Wanderlist. I think it's wanderlist.com, and that's a great resource to allow you to kind of dream and visualize and come up with some travel plans that you may not have thought of without that resource. So we hope you'll take advantage of that and check that out. And we hope next time you're in to talk to us, you can have some ideas and some dreams that you want to add to your retirement plan with Mach 1. Okay, so Matt, why don't you close us out with the thought of the day?
Yeah, so here's a good one based on our conversation today with Drenda and Travel by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Life is a journey, not a destination. So we appreciate you guys listening to the podcast, and look forward to you joining us next time on the Mach 1 Market Moment.
A quick reminder, guests on the show may be clients of Mach 1 Financial Group, and comments should not be taken as an endorsement or testimonial of the firm. Comments are the sole opinion of the speaker and do not reflect the opinion of Mach 1 Financial Group. Employees and clients of Mach 1 Financial Group may maintain positions in the securities or strategies discussed.